Yapping Fever.
Hello, welcome to Yapping Fever, the podcast about all things 20s, careers, dreams, chaos, growth, and the realness of adulting. I'm your host, Tamara, and let's get into today's yap. Hi guys, I'm back. We had a little bit of a hiccup last week with my microphone, hence I'm on my little mini mic today, because it wasn't working. My big mic wasn't working. I couldn't work out if it was the microphone or the adapter, but it has pushed back filming because I literally set everything up and I was ready to go and then the mic wasn't working. Today I also forgot to charge this little mic, so hopefully it doesn't die on me halfway through because it's only had like a 10-minute charge, so we're gonna have to keep looking at it. But that is why I'm a little bit delayed in releasing this podcast episode, but hopefully gonna fix all those mic issues so we can go back to regular posting. The last few weeks I've been pretty good. Melbourne is definitely feeling colder, which sucks. I don't like the cold. But we have had still like some nice days come through. I went to a musical. I saw Book of Mormon. It's currently playing in Melbourne. It's really funny. It's the second time I've seen it. The first time I saw it was in West End in London. The Australian cast is brilliant. Go check it out. My brother also went and he got the understudy and he said the understudy was incredible. So normally they are. I feel like sometimes your understudies, your standbys, your swings can be literally just as good or sometimes even better than your main act. I just think they're so talented because they have to like step into roles. Yeah, so like go check out Book of Mormon if you want to laugh. Such a funny show. And I also got to do a photo shoot this week, which was really cool. I did it with a company called Inca Organic. They're a makeup brand. They also do skincare, but I got to model their makeup. I loved it. It was so much fun. Everyone on set was lovely and really easy to work with. The makeup I really loved, which is nice. Because I got to keep some as well, but like nothing of my skin didn't react to anything and it sat really nice on me. Like sometimes you do try makeup and it doesn't work, but this one's all like organic and like natural, and yeah, I really did love it. I had such a good day. We were doing like before and after shots of like how the makeup looks on your face, so it wasn't so much like having to pose, it was just like showing how the product works, and I think like that was really cool. So loved it. I love when I get to model and do something other than just my boring day job. So that was great. And if you do want to see some behind the scenes or some of the final shots of this photo shoot, follow me on my Instagram at tamara.barton, as I will be posting behind the scenes there. I've already posted some, but I'll also be doing like a whole post about this entire photo shoot because it was just so much fun, and I really want to spread the word. I feel like this makeup brand's really cool, so look into Inca Organic as well. But we're here to give you a podcast episode, and that is exactly what I'm going to do today. Lately I've been binging so much TV, so much, it's an unhealthy rate, and that's probably a personal problem for me, but for you it's fantastic because I've now got a whole lot of good content to give to you. I have binged so many TV shows that I decided I would make a podcast episode about the TV shows that I think you should watch in 2026. Now, if you know me personally, you know that I am a girl who likes lighthearted stuff, who likes happy endings, who doesn't like anything dark, scary, crime-related, sickness-related, anything that's outside of my normal rom-com genre. But for this episode, I have delved into lots of different genres to give you a range of TV shows that's not just romantic or lighthearted or giving the vibes of like The Summer I've Turned Pretty. I actually haven't finished The Summer I Turned Pretty. I never finished it. Maybe I should watch that. Let me know if you've seen it and you think it is worth the watch. I know all the discourse, so I can know some things. I don't actually know like the full ending. It's like sometimes when I think about watching this, I try not to know the full ending. So like I don't actually know the full ending. But let me know if you think I should try it again. Anyway, I have watched a bunch of different shows. Most of these have come out this year, so you've probably heard about them. And then the shows that I've watched that I think is worth the watch. And then there's maybe a few shows that weren't released this year, but I think flew under the radar a little bit that I think is still an interesting watch. So we're going to dive right into today. In case you're wondering what my creative recommendation is, because I always do one of these for my podcast, it is to choose one of these shows to watch. add it to your watch list and actually sit down and watch the first 2 episodes. I feel like by the time you get 2 episodes in, you can kind of tell if it's a TV show for you. 2 to 3. But more than 1 sometimes. So here we go. This is TV shows that I think you should watch in 2026. Okay, the first TV show I think you should watch is Population 11. Now, Population 11 came out in 2024 onto Stan, but I do think it kind of slipped under the radar. It's a thriller and a comedy. This show is about a man named Andy who's American, and he travels to the middle of the Australian outback to find his dad as he needs his money back. Once he arrives to a small town in Australia where his dad lives, he quickly finds out that his dad and his money is missing, so he tries to find them. In this town, there's only a population of 11, so he's trying to work out what happened to his dad, if anyone else stole the money, and he also meets Cassie, who isn't a local, but she starts helping him on the journey to find his dad, not just because she wants to, but it's also for her own personal gain. The genre of this show is a thriller. There's some twists and turns throughout it, and I don't think the plot was predictable. Something would happen, and I'd be saying like, oh, that's a surprise. Like, I did not see this show going in that way. And even though it is a thriller, it's also a comedy. The characters are very stereotypical Australian, some of them. There's the guy who's such a bogan. There's the bar owner who's a bit rough. There's the odd person who's run away to the outback and you're trying to work out why. Like, they're quite odd. There's a police officer who's not as, like, good with the law as she should be, like lets things get away because it's the outback. And you can just see this stuff happening, and like the relationships between these people in this town are quite hilarious. And this show definitely has like a lot of dark humor running through it, which makes it funny and more comedic aspect than just like a full-on thriller. I did really like this show. It was on my watch list for I think like 2 years. As soon as it came out, but I didn't get around to it. And then once I started binging it, I finished it in 2 to 3 days. It's such a good story, a really good script, and I think the acting is phenomenal. It stars Ben Fieldman. He's an American actor. He's mostly known for his role as Jonah on Superstore. And then there's a bunch of Aussie actors, Stephen Curry, Perry Mooney, and more. And the acting was amazing. It was really convincing. I thought it was done really well. Like, if you want to be an Australian actor, I really highly recommend you give this a watch. I think it is good to watch Australian media. Ben was very convincing as Andy. I did watch an interview and he was talking about the role, and they said, like, you seem so out of place and so, like, genuinely scared. And he said, I think I was. Like, I gave up my life in America to be in Australia for 3 months. And it was a really like harsh reality check. Like, I went from kind of like a luxurious life or just like a normal suburban life to eating dinner at the servo and being around red dirt and being hot and like being in heat waves. And you can just see it, like him being out of place. So he plays Andy very convincingly. I think he's an incredible actor. Ben Fieldman also said that this show is really fast-paced, and it is if you watch it, especially for like if you watch American shows, you'll find that in America they talk a lot slower and the pace isn't as fast as like us here in Oz and like our Aussie shows. But the pace is really fast, and when something bad happens with like every episode and all the characters, especially Andy, who is already so out of place in the outback, he really just has to keep dealing with it and moving on and continuing forward. He doesn't have time to like sit in the discomfort and sit in the pain and sit in the shock, because then it would be a thriller. But by him just like moving forward, it really adds to this comedy aspect. This show, Population 11, is actually based loosely on a true story as well. It's based loosely on a man called Patty Morton, who went missing from an outback town of 10 people in Australia in 2017. Police believe that he was murdered, but the body has never been found, and the case has never been solved. They think that he's just buried in the outback, but because there's so much dirt and there's so many places he could be, yeah, they kind of just like close the case, and he's never been found. Poor guy. But yeah, that's what it comes from, and you can just, I don't know, you can see it happening, to be honest, especially when like the town is so small. You always get those odd characters there. So Population 11 is out on Stan with 12 episodes, and I rated it 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next show is Big Mistakes. It's a comedy and crime show, and it came out this year in 2026. The show is about two siblings. One's a priest and one's a school teacher, and they are blackmailed into doing organized crime. The siblings don't get along, but they are forced to confide in each other as they're the only ones who knows what the other one is going through. They are trying to shield everything from everyone else. They're partners. They've got another sibling who's like really stuck up and always wins in their mother's eyes. And then they're also trying to shield it from their mum, who was intense and overbearing and who's currently running for mayor. They're just trying to survive. It's created and written by Dan Levy, who is mostly known for his iconic role of David in Schitt's Creek, which he also created alongside his father. And this is his next TV show that he's decided to create. His dad's not involved in this one, but he did write it with one of his best friends. In the show, they keep getting pulled in to do more jobs, crime jobs. And it's funny, there's with like twists and turns, and it's highly dysfunctional. The relationship between the siblings, Nikki and Morgan, is a great to watch. They really hate each other. Like you can tell there's history of like them not getting along and them never being close. But why they hate each other, they're really trying hard to save each other's lives. They don't want the other one to die. So it's entertaining. It's honestly fucking crazy. Like the acting is really good. Again, I found that the pace is really nice and fast, which makes it feel really real, to be honest. In terms of like dialogue, it's overlapping in scenes, especially the family scenes, like the mum's yelling and then the kids are like talking over one each other. And that makes it feel really natural and like how a real dysfunctional family would be. You don't have to sit there and wait for one to finish talking for the next person to start their dialogue. And because it's so overlappy and so intense and shows this like dysfunction, it gives a lot of truth to their performances and it feels really real. And I think it also adds to like the comedy aspect. I also feel like there's times as an audience member that you're trying to catch up, like you can't miss anything, which is really nice because lots of time in shows these days, things get over-explained to you too much. And it's happening more and more. And I find it really annoying. I'm like, if you can't sit in front of a TV show and not scroll through your phone, then don't watch the TV show. Like you miss it, your fault. When I like with this one, like you can't be on your phone or you have to be paying attention because it just moves at such a fast pace. There's so much going on. Dan Levy, who not only created it, but he also plays the priest, one of the siblings in this show. He has spoken about this TV show and how it came about. And it's because he's got an irrational fear of being blackmailed into organized crime. And I think that's funny. I think that if you have kind of like an investment in it, like you're going to make a good story. It captured me in the opening scene. The opening scene is the siblings are sitting in the hospital room with their grandmother who's about to die. The mum's there already. She's already chaotic. She's like yelling at her own mum to ask what she'd like for her birthday. So the siblings decide to buy her a diamond necklace, which is how they get involved in crime because it was stolen and it wasn't as cheap as it was advertised for. This one was a weekend binge. Really good. It's on Netflix. There's 8 episodes and I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. It also has been renewed for season 2. So if you like it, get ready. Dan Levy's writing you your next season. The next show is The Running Point. It's a comedy. It came out last year, but season 2 has just dropped. This comedy series focuses on Isla Gordon, who takes over as president of the LA Waves, her family's professional basketball team, after her brother Cam enters rehab. The show follows Isla as she navigates dysfunctional family dynamics, team skepticism, and high-stakes basketball, trying to lead her team into the playoffs. This show stars Kate Hudson. Love Kate Hudson. She's so iconic. She's so good. I feel like she plays herself, but in like the best way, because like every movie I've seen her in, she's like very charming, charismatic, really good. Like she's really happy-go-lucky type of girl, and I love it. Like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days is brilliant. Even like Fool's Gold's really good. Bride Wars is so funny. Like she plays herself in the best way. And this is just that again. She's such a likable character. She really has this charm to her. And yeah, I really enjoyed watching her in this show. I did watch this show on a whim. And I ended up loving it. Like, I heard about it last year and I was like, yeah, I don't know, probably not for me. I decided this year, like, I'd already binged so much and I just need something else. And I was like, I'll just watch this. It's also created by Mindy Kaling, who is an actor herself, and is quite well known in Hollywood for, like, The Office. She's also one of the voices in Inside Out. I feel like if you knew her face, you'd know her. Yeah, so it's, like, created by her, and then it stars Kate Hudson, and it is a show about basketball, but, like, also not really, if that makes sense. Like, I actually don't know if you were really into basketball, if you'd hate this show more. But because I don't know much about basketball, but I do, like, enjoy it, I found, like, it was a really good watch. The family dynamic is really funny. Isla has 3 brothers, and she has 4 brothers. In, like, the first episode, you find out she has another brother. So, yeah, there's, like, the family dynamic that's quite enjoyable to watch. Isla's the only woman, so when she gets to be president of the Waves, it's, like, against the boys' wishes. Like, they don't want that. So there's definitely that tension between the family. There's drama around every corner. And you really get to see, like, Kate Hudson be a girl boss and assert her dominance, which I love, because I feel like sometimes that also is lacking again in, like, shows. And women, you know, need to, like, come back out and show that they can be girl bosses. There's some really great one-liners in this show that really work off the comedy aspect. This TV show is also loosely based off real-life experiences of Gina Buss. She's the owner of the Los Angeles Lakers, which is a family-owned business. I didn't know that. I didn't actually know that, like, that basketball team is family-owned. I don't know if that's a common thing in basketball. I just find that quite interesting. But anyway, she owns the Lakers, and it was her family business. The difference is, though, that, like, they wanted her to take over and she wasn't trusted. Where in this TV show, it is clear that they do not want Isla to be the president. And Gina Buss continued to own the Lakers and her father's legacy along. But apparently she does like the show. It's nice, fast-paced, easy television to watch. Like, you can do other things and watch it. It's really lighthearted. It's not deep. You don't have to worry about emotional jump scare of something scary. And it flows really nicely. And I think season 2 was also just as good as season 1, which is nice because sometimes it does drop off. But both seasons were great. So that's Running Point. It's out on Netflix. There's 10 episodes each season, and I rated it 4.5 out of 5. Whereas next TV show, we are shifting up the gears. Very unexpected for me. But it's called Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen, and it's a horror series. It came out this year. This is a horror series that focuses on a bride-to-be named Rachel, who's going to visit her fiancé's peculiar family for the first time. Upon arriving, she feels as though something is off and something very bad is going to happen. She tries to work out what it is and explores themes of wedding anxiety, soulmates, and how planning a wedding can be an absolute nightmare. The first 2 episodes were scary for me. I watched this TV show with my boyfriend. He loves horror. And I was scared. I was like, my anxiety was peaking. My heart rate wasn't peaking. I wear, like, a Garmin watch. It told me through that episode, like, calm down. You're, like, too high. Your stress is too high. So definitely found the first 2 episodes scary. There was this sense of, like, what the fuck is going on? So definitely the first 2 episodes were quite hard to get through. And even throughout the whole show, there is this sense of dread. To give more of this story, Rachel, who's the bride-to-be, doesn't seem to care about marriage, but she knows her fiancé wants it, and she's never met his family before this weekend, which is their wedding weekend. And as soon as you walk in the door, you feel like this family does not like her. The family has very interesting characters and gives you this uncomfortable feeling from the start. His brother is very dark and haunted. His sister's very dramatic, kind of like glassy-eyed. The mum is quite odd, and the dad, like, doesn't speak. He's like that quiet dad who's like, are you creepy or you just, like, don't talk? And the setting of this show also plays a lot into it. It revolves around the family's estate. This house is big. The way the camera follows you through the house is eerie. There's snow. It was, like, filmed in Canada. I think it's based in America, but it was filmed in Canada, so there's, like, snow everywhere, which also, like, at nighttime, I don't know, scary because it's, like, winter. So if, like, it's not just the characters that give a sense of horror, it's really, like, the snowy landscape giving a sense of eeriness. The music and score gave the show a lot of its creepiness, and it definitely kept you engaged. I feel like that's why the dread lasted so long, because you find out clues in this show, and I feel like once you find out some clues, it gets less scary, but like the music and like the camera angles made the show seem eerie and creepy throughout the whole show, throughout the whole journey. So you do find out clues. I would say you find these clues out sooner rather than later in this show. You get like an important plot point in episode 3, and that does change the tone. It really does change up the tone, and you don't feel as scared after finding out that plot point. I still was engaged the whole way through, and there were elements that did add to the plot and have a few twists and turns, but I kind of wish they didn't tell you the big plot in like in episode 3, even if it was like didn't have to be the last episode, but like I feel like even having it come out in episode 4, episode 5 would have been a bit better, like a bit more suspense. I think I would have felt scared for longer. Not that I ever want to feel scared, but in terms of like the show, I think you could have kept it a bit longer. The episode's also like an hour long, so even if it was like an hour later, it still would have been enough time, I think, to finish off the story, by keeping the element of surprise and the scariness there for a bit longer. The writers did do a good job at linking the little parts together. There's quite a few plot points that come together at the end, and you're like, oh, okay, makes sense. In episode 1, for example, something really small was talked about, and by episode 4, you realize it's like integral to the story, but it just goes over your head. So it's like, I like that when that happens, when everything that comes out of a character's mouth is actually linked and actually really important. I do love that. The acting was really fucking good. I loved Camila Monroney, I don't know how you say her last name, but she plays Rachel. Really good. I really like her as an actor. She's also in Daisy Jones and the Six. She plays the wife and the photographer in that show. Yeah, she's great. I really enjoy her as an actor. Her fiance, Nikki, also played by Adam DeMarco, was also really good. In this last episode of the entire series, there's this massive fight scene that is like, not physical fighting, but like a dialogue fight scene. It goes for like 15 minutes long, and I think it's like a one-shot scene. I loved it. As an actor, I was like fully immersed in that scene. It was so convincing. It was my favorite part of the entire show. And I think if you want to be an actor, it is a good show to watch, because I'm not going to lie, like my boyfriend was like, okay, get on with it. But as an actor, I was like, no, like this is so good. Like to get that depth, I think, and to get that vulnerability coming out, loved. It was so convincing. They did a great job shooting that. My favorite episode of the whole entire series was the rehearsal dinner. I liked hearing how the two of them met. It's also a very important plot point. But yeah, like that was like cute. It was kind of like repeated, like how they met the story. And the whole show revolving around soulmates and if they should get married, if they shouldn't get married, I found was really interesting. So I really did like it. So that is Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen. It's a show that's out on Netflix. It's 8 episodes, and I rated it 4 out of 5 stars, which is really good for me for horror. Like if you know me, I hate horror. 0 stars, 1 star. For me to rate it 4 out of 5, should all go give it a watch, I think. The next show I actually have recommended before, and I was trying not to add anything onto this list that I have recommended, but I really like it and I keep thinking about it, and I think it's my favorite show of 2026. One of my favorite all-time shows. So this one is Ponies. It's a spy thriller and a period drama. It's set in 1977 Moscow, and it follows 2 American embassy secretaries, Bee and Twyla, who become CIA operatives after their husbands are killed under mysterious circumstances. As ponies, in inverted commas, person of no interest, they navigate a dangerous Cold War conspiracy to uncover the truth. I watched the show earlier in the year and I just had to recommend it. The writing is genius. The acting is phenomenal. The 2 leading ladies of Bee, who's played by Emilia Clarke, and Twyla, who's played by Hayley Lou Richardson, some of the best acting I've seen this entire year. They're absolute standouts to me, and I loved watching them in these characters. The entire cast is extremely convincing. I just can't tell you how like convincing. One of the girls, I'm so sorry I don't have the actress's name, but she plays like the nanny in this show. So she's Russian. She's like a Russian nanny. I found out she's an Aussie actor, and I literally could not fault her accent. I'm not Russian, so I'm not 100% sure, but to me, so convincing. I couldn't tell that she was a dime of Aussie at all. If you want to be an actor, I think you should watch this. I think this TV show was really strong with its acting. Like I said, so convincing. For more of the plot on the TV show, there is suspension, there's anxious tension, there's seduction, and there's dark humor. The two girls have different storylines throughout this show. B's storyline is trying to get secrets out of Adrian, who is in the KGB, while Twyla is trying to work out why women in Moscow keep going missing. The two leads are very different. B is very polite and timid, but she is also fluent in Russian, which definitely helps. Twyla doesn't know any Russian, and she's a rule-breaking, confident, impulsive, plus sarcastic character. Together, they become not only a good team, but good friends, bonding over the loss of their husbands and working secretly as undercover CIA agents. Their main goal is to find out what happens with their husband, but they also have to like weed through working out other little things and just like actually doing jobs, which isn't all just about their husband's disappearance. The sets, the props, the costume design, and the world building, I literally felt like I was going back in time. That's how good this show is. That's how convincing it seems. There was definitely like moments where I was really intrigued in not only like the characters that you definitely get invested in, but just this life. Like, I don't know really anything about the KGB and Russia back in the 70s. But I found myself really interested in this era and wanting to know more about it. I did a little bit of research because I just found it so shocking that like this is how people lived and this is what people were going through. And I understand it's a fake TV show, so not everything is true and accurate, but there are definitely elements of this lifestyle and this moment in time that they're capturing that did happen and was true. And I just found that really, interesting and insightful. The plot's really good. There's twists and fuck-ups with like the characters' plans, which made me be on the edge of the seat for a lot of this show. There were definitely times where I was like, oh my God, they're gonna get caught. Oh my God, they're gonna get caught. And I was like sitting there waiting, and it doesn't happen when you think it does. And then like something else fucks up and it like pivots and twists. And I think that was good because it wasn't predictable. It could have been a really predictable plot. They really do a good job at not making it what you expect it to be. And I cannot get the scene out of my head. There's this one scene and something big happens, and the way it's to do with like Adrian, the way he like says his line gave shivers into my entire body. And in that moment, I was like petrified for these women, for B and Twyla. And oh my God, I actually really think I need to do a rewatch. It was that good. I know I only watched it a few months ago, but I love it. I love it. This TV show has some like truth base to it, I think, because it's about KGB and like CIA and Russia, but it is fake. There's this idea in this show that women wouldn't be used as undercover agents. However, they actually were, because women weren't expected to be in with like the CIA and like the KGB, but they really were working on the inside, a lot of them in Moscow in Russia. So that part of this story is fake, but I liked that they made that little bit up for this show. I think it made it a bit more enticing. We do not know if this show is getting a season 2, which is so devastating because I really love it. I really love it. I feel like the show does leave you on a bit of a cliffhanger, not a big cliffhanger that you're annoyed that you watched the show. Like sometimes you actually know like, why would you do that to me? But enough to be like, oh, there could be something more. There's a character, Sasha, and he has his like little like moments with B, and I really like him. I'd love to see where their story develops and just kind of how everything goes about. It would be really good if they got a season 2. I don't know. We haven't heard anything, so I don't think so, but it's still such a good like standalone watch for a limited series. It is out on Binge. There's 8 episodes, and I rated this 5 out of 5 stars. The next show is The Hunting Wives, which is a thriller and a mystery. Sophia O'Neill moves to a small town in Texas with her family, which is her husband and her son, and becomes obsessed with a glamorous socialite, Margot Banks. The plot hinges on high stakes, scandalous secrets, affairs, and a murder mystery of someone in town. They keep the murder suspect a mystery until episode 3, but I honestly think as soon as you get introduced to all the characters in episode 1, you can tell who it is. I was like, this is not a secret, is it? I could tell. I'm not sure if you're supposed to catch on or not, but that was definitely something that I was like, oh, I know who's definitely died. This show intrigued me because it had Brittany Snow as the lead actress. I've always liked her. She's really well known for her young adult movies of Pitch Perfect and Hairspray. So I am recommending this show because I did like it, but I'm not going to lie, I did find it a bit harder to get through than the others. I felt like there was a lot of different plot lines and some of them could be cut. Of course, there's the murder mystery, and there's also a plot line of a missing teenager that you find out literally in the opening scene. They're really important to the show. And then there's the plot lines of the church and affairs. Some of them are integral and some of them are what's the point of this? And I felt like some of the subplots were could have been cut to stick to maybe 2 lanes instead of trying to comment on every single thing, because it just wasn't working when you were commenting on everything, I found. I'm going to give an example for this. It's a little bit of a spoiler, so if The Hunting Wives is on your list and you decide you don't like spoilers, maybe skip ahead about a minute. But within the affair plotline, one of the main characters, Margot, is sleeping with Brad. Margot is 45 and Brad is 18 in high school. So uncomfortable vibes. When you watch a TV show, ooh, that's not right. Anyway, when you get to the end of the show and when you get through the show, you kind of understand that makes sense. And it is quite important to the plot. Sophie, who's the main girl, she has a thing with Brad's best friend, who's also 18 and in high school. That was not needed. There was literally no reason that needed to be included. It was just an awkward hookup. He's a child, technically, and it was weird and it didn't go anywhere. It didn't add any value. Also, Sophie had so many character flaws already. She didn't need another one. It didn't make sense. It just made you I don't know. I just feel it was more rage baity than anything. And I was oh, we could have cut some things rather than adding things that isn't needed and made more substance and more better subplots in other areas. And that's just one section. There's also a section that is to do with the church storyline that was this isn't needed. This could have been cut. I feel I don't know why you're making this a weird thing. Anyway, this show I definitely found the more I got into it, the better it was. The better the episodes were, the more I was intrigued. I feel once you find out who's murdered, so that's episode 3, it picked up its pace and the story got more interesting. And then the plot got a bit more focused and the shitty plot lines kind of cut off a bit more. There were still twists and turns right up until the end of the last episode, which I really did like, because I do think you got to a stage it's all been resolved, and then it hadn't been. There'd be a twist or a turn or something would come up and you're oh, this is cool. And I think it is because the last 2 episodes were still so chaotic and so much mystery to them that it really kept me engaged. And I think that's why I'm recommending it, because it was still a good show right up to the end. I feel it did take a little bit to get into it, but once it got going, I was this is good. I looked at some reviews online just to get people's views of it as well, and people think it gives a trashy drama vibe, which I think is a really good way to explain this TV show. It has the affairs, it has the sex, the mystery, and the blackmail. So if that is your type of show, I do think you'll like it. I think it will be a good one for your list. So that's The Hunting Wives. It's out on Stan, 8 episodes, and I rated it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The last TV show I'm recommending is The Miniature Wife. The Miniature Wife is a sci-fi comedy, and the show is about a married couple who has power struggling issues. Les, who's a scientist, accidentally shrinks his wife to 6 inches tall, uses the premises to explore a failing dysfunctional marriage, while the shrinking's acting as a metaphor for the wife being figuratively small and ignored in her life. Lindy, who is the wife, is a Pulitzer Prize winning author who hasn't continued her career so she could support her husband and raise their daughter. The show also navigates the dynamic with the rebellious teenage daughter. In this show, there's two main storylines. There's Les, who's the husband who has to go to work at a science lab, and there's Lindy, who's at home, who's trying to live as a miniature person because she's been shrinked. I didn't enjoy Les's storyline that much. It is important to like the overall plot because he's trying to find a cure to enlarge his wife, but the ritual they do before the experiments, I hated. It made it seem so childish. They kind of had this science lab. It's kind of like a cult, and the way it's like explained how they're going to do their like experiments, I couldn't get into it. I hated it. And Les seems, I think his character is annoying. I don't know so much if it's the actor. The actor's quite well known and everything, but the cat, like, I just couldn't get behind him a lot. There's also like a character who plays his new boss, Vivian. I hated her. I literally hated her. But if you disregard all that, there is Lindy's storyline, and I really loved it. It stars Elizabeth Banks, and she plays Lindy, and I do think that's one of the reasons I really like this show. I think Elizabeth Banks is an amazing actress. I'll always love her as Effie in The Hunger Games, and she's really convincing, and she does a great job at like showing the dynamic of being a wife and the power struggles, and like she's also just really fed up and annoyed, like she's hit her breaking point. She's also really funny. The comedic timing of her is great. She's been shrunk, so I feel like the props and the set design made me really love this show. They like shrunk her, so they had to make like all the big props, and there's like a big iPhone. She lives in like this huge dollhouse that's been like made to fit her, and they've like recreated it. There's like the enlarged toothpaste. My favorite was like the AirPod. She has to talk on the phone, and the only way she can communicate is through holding up an AirPod, and it's like literally so big, and it's like bigger than her, and I think that's really cool. I feel like having these enlarged pops really gave like a magical feel, and I think they pulled it off really well. There's definitely a competitiveness to this show with the characters, not even just the main two characters, even the side characters as well. There's an obstacle around every corner. There's lies, there's action, there's a lot of arguments. There's also one episode in this show that goes back in time 20 years, and it's like the wedding day of Les and Lindy. I love that I loved it because I think it felt quite normal. It was like an episode without Les's weird storyline with his science lab. And I really think it also helped tie into the daughter's storyline. You get to see that Lindy really has a complicated relationship with her mum, and how she doesn't want that for herself and her future, and how she actually never wanted to get married. And I do think that like the marriage kind of unfortunately wrecked Lindy and Les as well. You can see that Lindy and Les did have so much love in their relationship, but it has always been messy and complicated. So that's The Miniature Wife. It's out on Stan, 10 episodes, and I rated it 3.5 out of 5 stars. That brings us to the end of today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really hope that there's something in there that you might add to your list or start watching a new TV show. I tried to give a lot of different genres, so I hope there is something in there for everyone. If you do watch anything, let me know your thoughts and opinions. And if you have any TV recommendations, I'd love to know. I'm really in my binging TV show era. I go through stage where I'm watching movies, and at the moment I'm definitely watching TV shows. I think I'm going to start off campus. But if you have any other suggestions for TV shows you think I would like, I would love to hear it. I'm always open to suggestions. If you have any podcast topics you think I should talk about, yap about, I'd love to hear it as well. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Yapping Fever. Give me all your feedback. Give me all your thoughts and opinions. I'd love to hear it. You can also leave a comment wherever you're listening. If you are listening on Spotify or YouTube, please hit subscribe if you haven't done so. Maybe share this episode with a friend who thinks they're in like a TV show rut, and I can give them some ideas. And if you want to get an insight into more of my life, you can follow my Instagram and my TikTok at tamara.barton. It's the same username on both sites, but I just post about my everyday life. I will post about the photo shoot that I talked about earlier. I post about some acting sometimes, my traveling, and just the usual little reels and little carousels of my life. And I'd love it if you also joined me there and got a little bit more insight into my personal life. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye!